Sunday, we heard again the gospel of Jesus calming the storm. A gospel we know very well, but one which perhaps had particular resonance for us at this time when we are going through some very stormy conditions all over the country, in fact, all over the world, it seems. We know that storms are not fun, be they meteorological ones, or ones that happen in our own personal lives. And yet, just as the weather brings us sunshine and rain and cloud and storms, so, during our lifetimes, we will all face times of storm and fear, just as the disciples did in the gospel, in that boat, and throughout their lives of discipleship and following Jesus. The disciples, we are told, are awestruck at Jesus' power over the storm. Who is this that even the winds and the water obey him? They gasp. That was the question that we are challenged by today as well. Who is this? And the clear answer is, Jesus is Lord over the storm, over all. In the beginning, we are told in Genesis, God spoke and created the universe. And so now God, in Jesus, speaks over the winds and the waves, and they created by him, obey him. But for his poor, puzzled, and in this story terrified disciples, who had yet to fully realize who Jesus truly was, it is a puzzle and an amazing miracle. Now, as I say, we all know this story so well. We've heard it so many times. We know who Jesus is. But how often do we really know him? How often do we really trust him? How often do we truly say, the Lord is our God? How truly do we place our trust into him during the storms we face in our own lives? I'm told that the Sea of Galilee is known for sudden storms arising. The disciples, of course, were experienced fishermen who knew the lake well, but surely they weren't expecting just a fierce storm to break so suddenly, or they wouldn't have got into the boat so willingly and readily with Jesus. The Sea of Galilee geographically is about 30 miles long and 7 miles wide and surrounded by very high mountains, and winds are funneled down these mountains, creating these sudden and very violent storms, as happened here. And this storm must have been a really, really, really violent one, because these experienced fishermen were truly convinced that they were going to die. Jesus, of course, would have known that were such a storm to arise, he could deal with it. But we and they, as weak, mortal human beings, we just don't know these things. And storms, problems, tragedies, they all hit us, sometimes with very little warning or no warning at all. As followers of Jesus, we are not protected from life storms. Our faith is not an insurance policy against the trials and tribulations and tragedies of life. But of course, in this particular story, let's not forget that Jesus not only leads his disciples into a time of peril and terror, he also falls asleep on them. Just when they are at their most vulnerable and terrified, he doesn't seem to respond to their cries and pleading. And isn't that just the same for us sometimes? I know that there have been times when I have cried out in prayer, in desperation, at the end of my tether, and God seems to remain silent. But faith tells me and us that he is always there with us, in our boat, at the height of our storms, even when we do feel that we are alone. The words of Hebrews 13 verse 5 always provide comfort and reassurance. I will never fail you, nor forsake you. It's only in times of our real weakness and powerlessness that we come to truly depend on the Lord. A crisis in our lives can often reveal to us a side of ourselves that we never knew before, either a deepening of our faith or a cry of despair and fear and doubt. Storms show us things that we don't see in calmer times. The author Corrie ten Boom, who survived the terrible suffering of the German concentration camps, said that people would often say to her, "Corrie, my, what a great faith you have." And she would smile and respond, "No, what a great God I have." So storms will come in our lives. They cannot be avoided, but we must remember that we are not alone, never alone in our little boat, in those storms, because Jesus will always be there if we call out to him. Amen.